speaker. He is a long time, like way before y'all were born, long time local, well-known poet, author, columnist, editor, what did I miss? Reporter. He's kind of been there, done everything. Also a UNM professor. So it's my pleasure to introduce him this afternoon.
It's my real pleasure today to get to introduce the keynote speaker today, Gadi Schwartz, who's, I think, brings to television journalism a kind of credibility and excitement that I haven't seen in a long time. I have to admit, I sort of don't watch it a lot, but I watch you because you're good. And he got his degrees in government and political science and international relations at New Mexico State. There are all kinds of awards from the AP and other organizations. It's going to be great to hear him talk.
Thanks. Thank you guys so much. That's Phoebe Price is a legend, so huge honor to be introduced by him. So Kate asked me to talk to you guys about how technology is changing journalism. And this is kind of a weird subject. If you've noticed that probably most of your panels have dealt with technology, and it almost seems as though like we older folks are like crazy obsessed with Twitter, right? Have you guys gotten that sense? We're like, Twitter, you gotta get on Twitter, you gotta sign up for Twitter. So just a quick show of hands, how many people here are actually on Twitter? We can be honest.
All right.
Okay, cool. Right on, yeah. And so how many people are on Facebook? Is that pretty much everybody? Okay, how about Instagram? All right, a couple of all the girls, a couple guys. I love Instagram. It's like my favorite thing. So one of the things that I was thinking about in terms of how technology has affected journalism is kind of you could draw an analogy to how awesome I am at Instagram. I am like the best Instagram picture guy ever. I mean, these right here filtered the crap out of these pictures. They look professional. People are always making fun of me because I use way too many filters. But like I do these, you know, in like 10 seconds. I'm going through filters. I'm adjusting my saturation. I'm doing all these things. And I'm not a professional photographer, right? I just have an iPhone 5 that I get really excited about. But if you notice, and I like to brag about these pictures look like almost professional quality, right? So here's the scary part about that. I am not a photographer, but technology has allowed me to take these pictures almost instantaneously and do all kinds of crazy filter, darkroom techniques that usually took people a lot of time to do, right? So what do you think that tells photographers? That tells photographers, oh shit. Yeah, and I might cuss. There's a lot of journalists here. We're going to be tweeting a lot of what I say. If we can exclude, if we can have an agreement.
On the record.
All right, never mind. I'm going to. Where were we going? I think there was an S word that was about to come out. But we'll retract that. But people are probably scared crapless about what's going on. Now, I tell you this because as journalists that are getting ready to come into the field of journalism, you should be scared crapless because this is happening to journalism as well. You're talking about blogs. You're talking about non-traditional media sources where people are bypassing the mainstream media to get their voice out. And so that's why we're kind of obsessed with Twitter, and that's why we're obsessed with this Facebook, these news streams. Because not only are they great tools for us, but they also scare the shit out of us. Because what they're doing is they're allowing people that aren't trained, as we are, that don't have the ethics training, the J school training, all those things, to become journalists. So at certain points during my little spiel here, I'm going to say like very prophetically, very, very profound things that I've been thinking about for the last, I don't know, it was like 15 minutes rather than that, it wasn't that big. But if I say these things and I say write that down, tweet it. And you can like hashtag me because I want credit for saying this. But right now, I think one of these things is we live in a world where there are more journalists today than there have ever been in the history of mankind. And that's because if we think about what journalism is, it's storytelling and it's facts. And it's the weird marriage between those two things. And that's what people are doing. People People are telling stories and they're presenting the facts, and it's becoming harder and harder to differentiate between traditional journalism and this new school of like evolving a little bit more sensationalism, a little bit less facts, or a little bit more facts, a little bit less, story. I mean, it's kind of on this scale that's constantly shifting. So I wanted to show you my awesome pictures to scare you before we go any further, because this is what's happening to journalism. People are jumping on and being able to present their views, their ideas, and how they see the world, and bypass the places that you want to work. Albuquerque Journal, Santa Fe, New Mexican, Channel 4, Channel 13, Channel 7, all these places. So let's see here. One of the best examples, and what I'll probably do, I've got my phone set up here, because this is the journalist's best friend. You've heard it over and over and over again, and it's completely true. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to be saying a bunch of stuff, and you don't have to remember most of the stuff I say, but if I tweet a picture on Instagram, that's going to be your way to take notes. So that way you can just refer back to my Instagram, see all my awesome pictures, and be like, oh, that's what he was talking about. So the first one that we're going to do here, actually, I don't even have this one on there. Oh, here we go. All right, so this one should be popping up right here. And everybody who's not already following me, follow me, because this is supposed to be this interactive, exercise that we're doing. Does everybody see what I just posted? I'm not going to tell you. You guys have to actually look it up.
I'm not following you yet, so.
You're not following me? Well, get on that, man. And if you guys have to tweet something awesome that I say, just be like, hold on. I'm not listening to you because I'm tweeting what you just said, and I'll give you a few minutes to tweet. I know it's hard to tweet on the fly. It's a skill that we acquire at press conferences. Everybody, you guys see what's going on? See what I just posted? It's a picture of my hand and my notes, right? Okay. First trick of journalism is I use this phone religiously. And the reason why I use this phone, I call it my photographic memory. I have a horrible memory. I'm probably the least organized person you know. I have severe ADHD, but my phone kind of keeps me in check. So what I just posted was a picture of my hand and my notes that I can actually zoom in on. And I am constantly taking pictures of my hand and my notes and zooming in on it, and it's this folder that I keep all the time. That's also what I do with Twitter. Anytime I'm at a press conference, or anytime I'm, I'm logging tape that I think is really important and needs to go out, I am tweeting what we in TV call sound bites or potential sound bites. So it's tweeting information. People at home are getting it instantly, and I'm also keeping notes for myself. So people are having access to my notes immediately. So what I've done is I've put my phone and I've hooked it up to my camera so it runs real time. So if I tweeted something at 1:40, then I can tell on my camera it's 1:40 and I know that's where the bite is. So it's just little organizational tips like that. But that's one of the things I do with Twitter, which is awesome. Another thing that Twitter has done for our industry is it's allowed people to no longer rely on, for television, we want people to come and watch us at 5, 6, 6:30, and 10, right? Well, that doesn't work anymore because we've got DVR, we've got all kinds of crazy stuff that people make their own schedules. And not only that, but one of my old news directors, she told me, to be honest, the breaking news is very important, and Twitter is very important, Facebook, our website is very important, but the days of breaking news are waning because people can have breaking news at any time on their phone. So why am I going to wait for a full day or 2 days to get it on the paper, or wait 3 hours to watch it on TV when I could read it instantly and then I'm over it? Have you guys noticed that? When somebody tells you a story and they're like, oh, this story's coming up, and then you just get a little bit of a smidgen of it, and all of a sudden you're kind of over the story. I already know most of it. I already know the headline. I'm fine. That's what happens. So that's something also to be very concerned about. But that's why Twitter is very important, and that's why we keep harping on this over and over and over again. One of the best examples of the use of Twitter, and also the fact that there are journalists everywhere, was the tweet of the Osama bin Laden raid. Do you guys remember that? You guys remember what happened? It's a guy who's tweeting the most important thing that happened in the last probably 10, 15 years. He doesn't even know he's tweeting it. But all of a sudden, this guy is the journalist on the ground. This guy is the guy that everybody, I mean, he's literally providing information as to what's going on in real time. And he's just a no one from Pakistan who all of a sudden gets like hundreds of thousands of Twitter followers. Now, I'm going to give you a couple quick tips on how to get Twitter followers. People love Twitter when it comes to breaking news. I've got a bunch of Twitter followers. It's like 2,000 or something, which I'm pretty proud of. But most of those Twitter followers came from breaking news situations. So the last one, I don't know if you guys were there. Were you guys around during the Occupy Lobo or Occupy UNM, and everybody got maced? Yeah, it was kind of fun. Did anybody get maced? I got maced. It's awesome. But then I got the tweet, I just got maced, and then boom, all of a sudden I get a bunch of Twitter followers. So that actually helps. People love Twitter for the breaking news, and sometimes you blow up people's feed. That's kind of annoying, but it's still something that allows us to bypass the news, bypass the newspapers, and go straight to people's phones and alert them instantly. So that's Twitter. Facebook, we've already talked about Facebook. Best part about this for journalists is, like, I look like a pretty cool guy based on the pictures that I post on Facebook, right? I mean, do you guys want to be my friends? Because you should add me. So the best part about Facebook is, as a journalist, it allows me to make this connection, make a personal connection with a lot of people at home. And when they see that I've got brothers that, like we run around and do stupid stuff, or that I see I'm having a good time with my friends, and, obviously I try to post as much appropriate things as possible. But when they see that, they see me as a human, which is what I am. And so they're able to relate to me. And that's why journalists, we're getting a crap load of tips based on Facebook. Because people are reaching out to us on Facebook after they Facebook stalk us, and they're like, this guy's pretty cool, I'll trust him with this story, and then they give us the story. So it's great to have a large Facebook presence. You just have to make sure that you don't post like naked pictures of yourself. Okay. So that's
also linking your Twitter to your Facebook page.
Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Just because, I mean, you guys all know, like, Twitter feels different than Facebook. If somebody blows up your newsfeed on Facebook, I get pissed. I'm like, I don't want to see all this stuff, But on Twitter, I expect people to kind of blow things up. But if I was doing a high-speed chase. There was a high-speed chase this week. Did you guys hear about that? Okay. So there was a high-speed chase, and I jump on Twitter, and I de-link my Twitter to my Facebook because I don't want like a crap load of high-speed chase tweets on my Facebook. So it's kind of one of those things where if you're in court and you're tweeting 1,000 or 100 tweets that day, you don't want to blow up your entire Facebook on that because then no one can see your awesome pictures. Or whatever. But yeah, that's why Twitter and Facebook are two different tools, and that's why we're actually talking about Twitter and Facebook, because they don't do the same thing. They serve different functions, I think, in society. So here's another very profound thing I'm going to say. When it comes to Facebook, and we're talking about the news feed, Facebook has revolutionized what we think is important as news. Okay, like we're talking about, people moving their relationship status as it's complicated to like in a relationship or to single, like those kind of things. That's not news, but it's news on Facebook, right? And then you start getting into the stuff that's almost news and almost not. Like I just saw a cougar in my backyard. It's up in a tree. That's crazy. I'll put that on the news. Why not? It's not very often that, Joe Schmo has a cougar in his tree. It's a great picture. We'll throw it on the news. And then we move into people posting stuff that we do. So here's the profound thing I'm going to say, and somebody can tweet this if they want. Just make sure you like hashtag me so I get credit for it. In today's world, let me preface this a little bit. Traditionally, editors have decided what we consume as news consumers, right? So we've got a really smart guy at the Journal. We've got a cantankerous, like, old man at the Santa Fe, New Mexico being like, this is what I want these people to know. They got to know this. These are the editors that decide what we consume, what is important to us. And the best part about it is, we're all young. We don't know what we should know. These people know what we should know. You know what I mean? They've been around. They understand the context. They have the history. That's what journalism, it's one of the benefits that journalism has traditionally had. Well, that's all changing. Because what's happening now is editors aren't deciding what you guys consume as news users. It's your friends that are deciding what you consume as news users. So if somebody posts something on their Facebook, oh, check out this link. You're like, all right, well, I'll check out this link. I'm going to read this article from the New York Times. You read the article from the New York Times. Does that mean that you're going to read the entire New York Times? Probably not. Huffington Post is a perfect example of this. It's not one place. It's not one solid news organization. They're just pulling from all kinds of different news organizations. Same with my job. Like some people don't like some of the people that work on Channel 4. Some people don't like me, so they don't watch Channel 4, but they'll watch for certain people. So we're not trusting news organizations as much as we used to deliver us the things that we need. We are relying on our peers, and we are relying on like Facebook and Twitter to tell us what we need to consume, which is pretty scary. So that's another thing we need to consider. And that's another reason why, if you guys find something as journalists that you think is important to society, you should probably tweet that or put it on your Facebook, because your friends are probably going to check it out. Perfect example of this, my buddy Logan over there, not a journalist at all. He is a financial guy. Does all kinds of crazy stuff with computers. But what he posted on Facebook changed my perception and gave me hope about what's happening in this multimedia, technology-like ridden journalism. And so we're gonna do a little bit of Facebook stalking with Logan. This guy's Logan, see, went to ASU. Good looking dude. Alright, so down here, all the stuff. Took a bunch of like the best pic CDs. Yeah, those look like my pictures because they are my pictures. I put them on Instagram. A bunch of filters. It's got drugs for some reason. What is that? Oh, here it is. Great story for boat boarders, skiers to read. Be careful this season. Snowfall, avalanche tunnel. Have you guys read this? Okay, so anybody who has not read this story, it's a long story, multiple pages, New York Times. I think this story is one of the most important pieces of multimedia journalism to come out of the last year. And it will revolutionize the way that newspapers are presenting a lot of their longer format stories. I'm going to show you. I'm not going to ruin what this is about. It's about an avalanche, but I'm not going to tell you what happens. But I'm just going to scroll down, and you guys are going to see the layout. Check this out. So all I'm doing is pressing the down button. Okay, we've got this. This is animated. Looks pretty cool. Already feels user-friendly. We're scrolling down. The snow burst through the trees with no warning, but a last-second bush of sound. So we've got the story starting. Bunch of words. Okay, we're getting into it. All of a sudden, we're starting to see pictures. Boom! They put up a video of an interview with this girl right when they're talking about what she experienced. And all you do is you click on it. Guess what? It's not a 10-minute thing, a 15-minute thing you have to sit through. It is literally just enough to give you a little bit of context and to see her face when you're seeing the print thing. This is a perfect marriage between print and television and multimedia. So then you go down and you're like, dang, well, I wonder what this place looked like. Holy crap! Google Maps! Like, they just have Google Maps pop up. You didn't even have to do anything, and it's telling you where all this took place. This is just from pressing down on your computer. Okay, so then you watch, you're like, oh, okay, I've got the context. I know where this happened. And then you're going through, and then they give you a little bit of historical context. They got pictures just like traditional, newspapers. Then here, you've got a picture that shows the conditions, and it's just playing for you. While you're reading this, it's just playing right next to you, and your eyes are kind of going back and forth. So then, you go down, and then again, this is a very, very long story. People get ADD. All of a sudden, you start seeing these. These are the people that are involved in the story that you've been wondering what they look like and who they are. All of a sudden, they start popping up right here. So you can actually click on them. They show you a couple pictures of them doing their daily stuff, so you see what they're like and you relate to them as humans. Then you come down. These are pictures of what the conditions were like that night. Then again, this is the weather forecast of what was happening when that storm happened. So this is literally, all you're doing is you're just scrolling down. And this is beautiful. And this is what's going to eventually happen in some of the places that have the resources to make this happen. But I think that this is the type of future that you guys are looking at as students that we're barely beginning to see. So you guys can learn how to animate, I mean, as journalists, if you're going into print, if you're going into TV, if you're going into radio, if you're going into any of those things, as you heard some of the panelists say, you don't get to specialize anymore. You have to know how to do everything. It all starts with your phone, but then after that, you start learning how to cut your own video, you start learning how to shoot, you start learning how to do all that. So you're no longer contained into print. Here's your pencil when you graduate. Here's your pad. Go off and write stuff down. So that's one of the things that's great about Facebook. Facebook is great for mining stories. And the other good thing about Facebook and Twitter is, in this world, I don't know if we've talked a lot about information overload, but it almost feels like there's way too much information, and you just don't know what to do, you don't know what's good, you don't know when the New York Times is going to have an awesome thing. Sometimes I read the New York Times and I'm like, this is the most boring paper in the universe. I'm not going to check this every day. I've got other stuff to do. So the good thing about Facebook and Twitter is, if they're used effectively, they offer you roadmaps between all the muck, between all the stuff you don't need to know, between all the stuff you're not interested in. Facebook and Twitter, if used effectively by you guys, can offer people roadmaps as to what you think they should see. So, somebody just tweet that? You guys can tweet that if you need. Alright, so we're moving on. That's like the big spiel about Facebook and Twitter. And we're going to move on to, let me see if I've got Instagram pictures here. Alright, here we go. Here comes another one. Now we're going to move into cameras and technology, and how that's changing the way you use this Gadi. Do you guys see what I just posted? Let me see if I can pop up my Instagram. For those of you who must have had your phones die or something. Yeah, that's one of the things, Mr. Price and I were talking about it, and we live in an age where people are just glued to their phones all the time, so you almost have to get louder. Like right now, I feel like I have to be pretty loud because you guys are typing away, you have your phones out, I don't know what you're doing, I don't know if you're looking at an ex-girlfriend or something, or you're actually listening to what I'm saying, so I try to be louder. Well, that's kind of happening with journalism too. When you got all the muck and you got everybody, sharing everything. As a journalist, and I know TV's probably different, as a journalist you feel like you got to be even louder, you got to be even more outrageous. And that is something that you need to keep in mind when you're doing your journalism, because if you get carried away, you could compromise what you're trying to do as a journalist. So that's something to bear in mind. Does everybody see what I just posted? What, camera? I'm not going to mess with this. Camera, toys, right? So you see a couple of little black boxes. What are those? It's like half black. So this is my goodie bag. This is actually Channel 4, just like a lot of other stations. They're not as fast on the technology end as I would like them to be. So everything in here is mine that I've bought as a journalist, because one day I want to be able to go to Afghanistan and just report from there, or Aleppo or something like that. And literally everything I need to cover a war is in this bag. Everything I need to shoot an interview with the governor, or to confront a bad guy or anything, is all in this bag. To do undercover video, everything. It's all in this bag. I put my laptop in here, and I can work from anywhere in this bag. And this is all stuff that I've bought on my own, because I know that I'm going to need it. And guess what? I need it all the time. And this is not something that you're going to hear a lot of people say, especially people that are in the industry, because they're like, no, your organization should pay for all your stuff. Your organization should provide you with all the equipment necessary. Guess what? Budget cuts are everywhere, and that doesn't happen at all, anywhere. So unless you're working for Al Jazeera, that has tons of money to throw at stuff, which is, by the way, a very reputable news organization, and you guys should check them out because they're awesome. then you should probably start trying to invest in your future by buying tools that you think are going to be necessary no matter if you're doing freelance work or if you're working for an organization. So we're talking about my tools. This thing right here is a GoPro. I love these things. These GoPros are awesome. They are high definition cameras. They're like, these ones are like $100 now, $199. And I use them religiously. I'm an investigative journalist for Channel 4 now. I used to do general assignments. Now I'm like the guy chasing people around with the microphone. I'm like jumping out of bushes. So this thing is a lot less intrusive. And as Sean will attest, like this is kind of our go-to camera. It's hard to hide, but I mean this thing is so wide that it captures a lot. So here's some of my tools, my GoPros. This is my JVC HM100. Cost like right now I think it's $1,900. But this shoots better video, I think, than our station cameras do. And those station cameras are huge. And I put a wide-angle attachment on it. And the best part about this, so at Channel 4 and at most news stations, you're going to see they've got photographers who have been doing stuff for like years and years and years. And sometimes those photographers can get a little bit grumpy and they're like, no, look, my photography is a skill that I have, that I've acquired, that I've worked hard for, and I am the photographer. Well, that's all changed, and they know it, and you should know it as journalists. So this camera, I took Sean out on a shoot. Sean, how long did it take you to go through the rundown on this camera?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. 10 minutes, and he shot a story that's going to air on Channel 4 that's going to blow your guys' minds and make you like have a Channel 4 statue at UNM campus. Not kidding. I might show, if I show you some of the raw video, you'll lose respect for me as a journalist, and VP Price is here. I'm really worried about that. I think so highly of him. I might show you. Not sure if I'm going to show you. Also, if I show you, we're going to tease ahead so you guys keep listening to what I'm saying. This is something that we do in television. When people start getting bored, we tease ahead. So at the end of this, I might, if we can all collectively convince all the other journalists, the working journalists and editors in this room, to embargo this story until I break it on Thursday, I might show you the law. I might show you some of them. That's going to be really fun. You know, and since you guys are all on Twitter, like one of the enforcement mechanisms that we could have is just blasting the crap out of them and giving them all kinds of like hell if they actually break the embargo. You know, we'll get to that bridge. Yeah.
So what was the camera again?
So this is a JVC HM100. It's about 3 years old. It shoots on little SD cards. But I mean, there's so many different cameras like this. This is what it uses, and I love it. And I've been using it for 2-3 years, and I use it for everything.
Do you take lighting with you?
No, well, you know, to be honest, most of my stuff is still run and gun, and you're going to see the video looks like crap. But the stuff that I do is about moments. It's not about making things look pretty. This thing can if you carry a lighting kit, but usually I'm literally like running after people, chasing them, so you don't have to worry about lighting, which is awesome because I'm not like a detail-oriented kind of dude. So those are my toys. All right, let's talk about. What should I do next? Okay. Boom. You guys should have it. Now feel free to just scream out whatever I posted. Come on, 4G LTE. A girl. She's pretty hot. What's she wearing?
Future glasses.
Some future glasses. Those are Google glasses, right? We're talking about stuff that is probably going to not hit markets until like 2014, 2015. But these things have the potential to be game changers. I mean, literally people wearing cameras on their face and being able to record whenever they want. The fact that we have cameras that shoot video on our phones has already changed the way broadcast media, and because of it's changing broadcast media, it changes print media, how things are disseminated. This is kind of interesting. Okay, so just to talk about this, I was having a conversation with one of my friends earlier in Santa Fe. They were saying that, you know, they remembered when cops, like being a cop was a noble profession, and cops used to act a lot better than they act now. And so I started thinking, and I don't know if this is actually accurate, but I started thinking, are cops really better? Or do we know what cops are doing because they have dash cam video, and they have the lapel cam that they have to use, and they have CAD reports? I mean, 40, 50 years ago, what were cops doing? We don't know. We have no idea because they weren't wearing the pieces of accountability that we as the public have now asked them to wear. So it's one of these things where it's like, yeah, maybe cops are more noble now than they used to be, which goes against the complete grain of everything that we think of APD. You know? I mean, like everybody here, you're like, oh, APD? Super sketchy. Yeah, I've seen them beat people up. Why? Because I saw them because they were wearing a lapel camera that they actually provided to us because we forced them to, because we either got it leaked or we gave them like an IPRA and they had to comply. So transparency, I think, is changing things, and I want to believe that our civilization is advancing because of these innovative changes as opposed to regressing. It's going to inundate your TV with a lot more sensational stuff, but in the long run, hopefully, you know, we have a better society for it. So, Google Glasses, I think that's going to be definitely a game changer, but I'm a tech guy. All right, so here's one more. It's coming to you guys, finishing up, done. It's my awesome beard. I grow that beard when I try to go investigative undercover. You guys see it? It like takes me like 3 weeks to grow. And some of you, my brother Matt Schwartz, who's awesome. He goes to UNM. You guys might see him at like Satellite. He works across the street, and he has this crazy beard. And it takes me forever to grow that, and he can grow that in like 2 minutes. So, why do you guys think I posted that picture of me wearing a camo hat and holding a camera in a car? What does that have to do with technology?
I want to say it represents how you're going out and tackling the issues that you're trying to show everyone else.
Perfect. So this picture was taken after 3 days of me sitting in that car. And while I was sitting in that car watching these sketchy dudes do some sketchy things, I was working. I was filing IPRAs on other stories. I was making calls, talking to contacts, working other stories. I was working while I was watching. And this makes me really excited because I hate being in the studio, and I hate being in my office. Those are the two places that I hate being the most. The best part about this is I've got a hotspot, I've got all my stuff. I can literally work from anywhere. Do you know what that means as an investigative journalist? Instead of waiting for people to tell me what's going on, I could just go, drive with my car, sit in front of this person's house, watch what they do. If they're coming home when they're not supposed to and leaving their car running, or if this person's not working when they're supposed to be working, I can literally see that with my own eyes while I'm working. So this allows us to go completely mobile. And these are things that we need to embrace because traditional newsrooms, they haven't gotten this yet. If you're a cop reporter, there's no reason why you shouldn't be working out of the biggest cop hangout in the city. If you're a city hall reporter, there's no reason why you can't be, working at a desk at City Hall, just in the lobby, where people can pass you by and see you as a journalist and get to know you. You can be out in the community now more than you've ever been able to be out in the community. So take that into consideration. That's some of the things that are separating the good reporters from the bad reporters. I think good reporters are people that are constantly out, constantly talking to people, and I think bad reporters are the people that don't ever want to move, don't ever want to leave, don't ever want to get out, and are just content making their beat checks, and that's about it. So that's what that picture represents. My phone's, I got 60%. All right. Oh, I think this was the phone. I already talked about the phone, so we got that. Future journalist, Instagram, old school journalists, work anywhere. New York Times article. Oh, and I remember why. Okay, so what did I just post? This is one of those profound, tweet me moments. You know what that's a picture of? A phone. You know the best part about that phone? It's a charged phone. It's a charged phone. If you're a journalist, the worst thing that can happen to you is your phone can die. So charge your phone. Charge your phone and have a charger with you, because that is super, super crucial. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple of stories. One of them is probably my favorite story I've ever done in my entire life. Then I'll show you an iPhone story. Anybody see the iPhone story where we actually got some iPhones stolen right in front of UNM? Perfect. You guys don't even know tell. And then we'll talk about whether or not we can make this embargo happen. All right, so I'll set up this first story. Let's see. Boom. It's this one. It's my beard one. How do I make the audio work? Should have probably tested this out. We're like ranting and raving about technology.
Right.
While we're doing this, do you guys have questions? Shoot them out.
Technology is your best friend until it goes wrong. Very.
Yeah.
If breaking news is kind of a thing of the past, does that mean, and I'm not being facetious, does that mean that long-form journalism on television has more of a chance or more of a possibility?
I think so, yeah. I definitely think so. When my old news director was, and she's just gone on to Phoenix, but the reason why she told me that is because she brought me on board to create an investigative unit. And so we made a shift from breaking news to investigative. And we're kind of making, we keep going back and forth. But breaking news hasn't gone away. It's just that we get over breaking news a lot quicker because we have our phones. So if something is breaking during a newscast, that's fantastic. And we've got that live presence, and things are going great. And that's when you're like, send the satellite truck, send the chopper, send everything. Like, let's just get there and let's show people exactly what's happening right now. That still exists, but people have a tendency to get over it a lot quicker because they can get the pertinent facts on their phone instantly. So I think there is a future in investigations. You see Channel 13, like they're like hiring people left and right. We're competing with they now have a special investigative unit, which is that Larry Barker guy, who I hate. He's always like hurt, you know? He's always got like an arm hurt or something like that. So Larry Barker. No, but he's actually a fantastic journalist. I look up to him. His stories, he taught me how to be what I am, and he works for Channel 13. And he doesn't know. We've got Larry Barker, and then we've got Channel 13 has also sunk resources into a special assignments unit, which is basically the same thing. They have 3 reporters, 2 producers, an editor, and a photographer. And we're trying to ramp up our investigative presence as well to match a lot of the story content that they're generating. But yeah, it's great. I mean, the breaking news and the shift from breaking news over to in-depth analysis of what's going on is fantastic. So we're hopeful that trend continues. Is this?
She went to get the sound guy.
Oh, the sound guy? Okay, cool. All right, so I'll set up this story very slowly because I'm stalling. Did anybody see like our investigative story that we did up in Espanola with the people that were giving out alcohol?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And you saw it. You were pretty much like, I want to see it to see it. And okay. So real fast, basically what we've heard and what we set out to prove has been like an urban legend up in Espanola for the longest time. People like giving homeless guys alcohol to go vote. I mean, it was something that came in as a tip, and we're like, okay, how are we gonna like even prove this, you know? So I get my boy Peter St. Cyr, who's a journalist now works for the Santa Fe Reporter, and we like start brainstorming. And this is now my shtick. This is kind of one of those things where I don't have subpoena power. I don't have, a gun. I don't even have mace. Like, all I can do is try to, as an investigative journalist, try to be in the right place at the right time, or try to figure out how they're doing things and circumventing me so I can circumvent them. It's kind of like this cat and mouse game. So we start thinking about it, and we're like, okay, well, what we would need is we would need video of them actually picking up some homeless people and taking them to the polls. We could pull off homeless. Like, we could definitely pull off homeless. So I start growing my beard, and Peter was homeless anyway. So, which you'll see here in just a bit. So we plan this operation. He takes the keychain camera, which is this guy, which is on my keys. This is a little camera. he takes a keychain cam, and we go out to Espanola, and my moches, do you guys know what a moche is? Alright, my moche is going to come out when I retell this story, and you might hear it a little bit, because it slips out during this broadcast. Do you guys know what a moche is? You guys have no idea? So a moche is like a New Mexican accent. So Peter and I start practicing our moches, and so we get out there. First couple of days, we're literally just like hunkered down in bushes watching the early voting site. And we're trying to see where people are going, who's bringing in who's trucking in who, and we actually were able to identify who the political operatives are. And then I start running them on different stories that I've done. It turns out that one of them has been on my radar since the time that we took down Jerome Block Jr., who was the guy at the PRC. This guy was affiliated. He was already on my radar, so I knew exactly who he was. But he was very easy to hone in on and watch from a distance. And then we kept putting Peter on the street, like putting him over here, and they would just drive by and be like, "Oh, they're not going to pick Peter up." And meanwhile, like Peter's just like holding a sign that says "Bet," and like he's dancing on the street and doing all kinds of stuff. And we saw some crazy stuff in Espanola. Espanola is like a pretty fun place to be undercover and just see what's going on. And I tried to do undercover too over there. But then some like drunk guy came up and was like, "Hey!" And I'm like all bearded out, camo. I think I look super scruffy. "You're that guy from the news."
What are you doing here?
"Yeah, I saw you on the news. What are you doing?" And I was like, "All right, I'm going to go sit in the car." And I sat in the car the entire time. You still don't have audio.
How often does that happen if you're trying to do an investigation?
A lot.
Right?
Yeah, a lot. It's starting to suck. I mean, I wish I could do
So I figured the more investigative pieces you do,
right,
the more
people are like,
yeah, snowball.
Yeah, no, and so now I'm using different producers, and my boy is, where is he? Sean! Boom! That's our new guy, man. And Sean has stepped up. All right, so since we're still stalling, I'm going to tell you something else about journalism. This is like a very important piece that you guys need to know. Sean is doing exactly what I did at Channel 4, which is you get on the assignment desk. Basically, you're the newsroom bitch. Okay? It's the worst place ever. You have to listen to all the radio traffic. You have to make sure that all the crews are going out. You have to tell people that are older than you, "Hey, you need to move now." And then they're like, "Oh, stupid punk ass kid." So you basically, and when things go bad, like it kind of falls on you. It's the desk's fault. So the assignment desk is where I started. It's where Sean started. And what we've done, what I've seen Sean do, and he does terrifically, is he's been one of these guys that's like, "Hey, do you need somebody to do this? I don't know how to do that, but I can learn how to do that because I'm pretty good at this. You know, I'm a fast learner. Put me in, coach. Put me in." If you assume the "put me in, coach" mentality, like you're going to have a job wherever you want to go. I mean, it's literally one of those things that separates like the good journalists from the bad journalists, and the successful journalists from the not successful journalists, and the journalists that make money and the journalists who don't make money. Because there are journalists that make money, and then there's the rest of us. We're all trying to make a living. All right. Where were we? Oh yeah, so Sean. So we're using Sean a lot now as our investigative guy because, yeah, we're kind of burned. Me and this guy Chris Ramirez, campaigners, shuttling it. Yes. Okay, let's do this. All right, so the anchors, I cut off that part. I should have kept it. But the anchors are basically like, "Oh, we've been investigating things in Espanola, you know, allegations of booze and blah, blah, blah." And then they're like, "Roll the package. This is the package." Ready?
While campaigners worked the first day of early voting, we were watching. And this is some of what we saw. Campaigners shuttling in voters by the truckload. And there is nothing illegal about that. But we also noticed some voters and campaign workers go to the back of a white truck and pull out what appeared to be miniature bottles of alcohol. But we needed to get even closer. So we decided to full days. My producer Peter walked the streets of the skies. Eventually, he was picked up by this black Chevy Tahoe. The men inside said they were driving people to the polls to vote for candidates Alfredo Montoya, Elias Goriz, and Moises Morales. Once inside the Tahoe, Peter turned on a hidden camera disguised as a keychain. At one point, he asks him for a drink.
You guys have anything to drink or anything like that? Yeah, a bit of my soda, I don't know.
The man in the back reaches into a cooler and gives Peter a miniature of Admiral whiskey.
Which he drinks.
Yep, yeah. That's good, man. You got a whole cooler.
The driver of the Tahoe sees a state police officer and stops to switch seats with the passenger.
You're not a driver? You don't have a license?
The men call out to some people walking down the street.
Hold on, I know this is really bad form to interrupt the story, but at that point, something that we edited out was he's like, I can't go back, I can't go to jail, I don't have a license. Peter's like, yeah, I can't go back to jail either. and the way he said it was so awkward. I was like, I was monitoring in my ear, right? And so I'm like, oh shit, where's this going? You know, I just hear silence, and then they all like turn back and they look at Peter and they're like, why can't you go back to jail? And Peter's like, well, I get claustrophobic. I was like, oh shit. Things are going to go bad, man. And real fast, before we go further, we're in Espanola, where it's a very interesting place to be because I'll be completely honest, I don't trust law enforcement up in Espanola. I feel like there's a lot of leaks up in Espanola, and I feel like if we would have told law enforcement what we were doing, we would have been burned immediately because a lot of what you're seeing is going on in the sheriff's department's parking lot. So it's one of these situations where we're like, we're not exactly going to tell KOB everything that we're doing, but I got your back, Peter, so I'm going to follow you in this car. If you say the code word, I need to pee, I will ram the vehicle, and you and I will run for the hills and wait until law enforcement comes. That was our contingency plan, which I thought we were going to have to do when he was like, I'm claustrophobic. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Story continues.
Stinking sniffers! You need to go with that. Have you already got it? Have you already got the vote?
But those people say they've already early voted, so the Tahoe pulls away and heads to the polls. Peter asks for another shot of whiskey.
Hey, so after I vote, do I get another one of these? Sure. How many can I have? Let's see you vote first. I don't think you're registered over here, Sanchez. Well, what address should I use? Well, I ain't got nothing to worry about it. Maybe they'll let me vote in Albuquerque. No, we don't need the vote for Albuquerque. For who? For Alfredo Montoya and Elias Goriz and Montoya? Morales. Go ahead and see. Morales.
Peter then asks about more alcohol.
You gonna wait for me here? We'll get some more. Who am I supposed to vote for?
Peter did not vote. Instead, I met him inside with a camera, and we both walked back to the Tahoe.
We're doing a story about you guys driving people to the polls, possibly giving them alcohol, and taking them in to the polls. Homeless people on the street, addicts, those kind of things. Is that what's going on here? Is that what's going on, Elias? Hey, Elias Fresquez. Yeah, we want to talk to you, man. What's going on?
We're taking a vote.
You guys are taking him to vote. You didn't give this guy a miniature?
He wants votes for money. I told him there's no money for it.
So you gave him a miniature of alcohol? Are you guys giving people alcohol? Yeah, we do have it recorded. You'll see it on the news. You'll see it on the news. We want to know how often you guys are doing this. We've been watching you for 3 days now. You guys are shuttling people in and out, in and out. Are you guys working for Alfredo? Does he know any of this is going on?
For Alfredo, we have our own deal.
So what's the deal?
We're bringing in voters that go. We didn't give him. There's pay for anything. He wanted money. We told him we're not giving him money.
So you're cool with just showing us your car and there's not going to be any alcohol in here?
If you have a warrant, you can check.
I don't have a warrant. I got video of alcohol in your car. For Alfredo Montoya, you told him to vote for Elias Goriz.
He's a dollar like that. I give him a dollar like that.
And you also told him to vote for Moises, right? Those are the 3 people?
Those aren't even the ones I'm supporting. We're supporting some other guys.
Who are you supporting?
That's what the power is. That's that.
Who are you supporting?
So that everybody can support. We're giving them really a right just to go vote.
And no alcohol. You're not giving.
There's no alcohol.
You know that little keychain, Ken? His keychain? What do you think that was? You think that was to his car? This guy, I mean, he's dressed like a bum. And you guys are picking him up and getting the vote.
What's wrong with that, guys?
Taking a guy that looks like he's homeless to vote and telling him who to vote for and giving him alcohol? You don't see anything wrong with that.
I didn't give him alcohol. Where's your alcohol?
Who gave you the alcohol?
Who gave you alcohol?
The guy in the back. The guy in the back. You didn't give him alcohol. No one's getting any money. Eventually, the Tahoe took off, but after about an hour, that man came to find us. After the break, hear what he had to say, and also hear from the candidates about what we uncovered.
All right, so
You didn't worry that they had guns? That took a lot of courage.
We're very worried. Sometimes, and I'll get my ass kicked eventually, but sometimes the best offense, the best defense is a good offense. And usually when we come after people, I'm not, I try to be, well, these guys is a little bit different. But I try to be somewhat respectful, but we stand our ground, and they know that the camera's rolling. So, looks like we are 15 minutes over.
Questions.
Should
You guys have questions?
Should we try this embargo thing? You're going to love this one.
Great.
Okay.
Hold on, wait. I'll leave the room because I'm a good journalist. I can't keep this a secret.
You know what off the record means, right?
Yeah, but I will take nothing off the record.
Good journalist. Yeah, go leave the room. All right. Seriously, I'll show a little piece of what we're doing. This is a sweeps piece for us. This is one of those things. You guys can stay if you want, but.
Oh, it's cool, man. I need to smoke.
Okay. All right. Real journalists, get the hell out. They're actually leaving. Thank you guys. Awesome. Okay, so I would really appreciate this. We're showing you proprietary video of what we're going to call our sweeps opener. This is a story that we've spent a lot of time, a lot of stakeouts, a lot of resources that have gone into this story, and that's why we're worried about other journalists getting it. But because it has to do with UNM, and because I know that maybe somebody in the room might appreciate this situation, we're going to show you just a little teeny tiny snippet that Sean shot. Okay? I'm going to show it to you, and then we'll see if you guys know what's going on without really going through the context. And again, this is raw video. A lot of this stuff is not going to be used in our broadcast. A lot of this stuff is out of context, so we can talk about it right after. But these are just like a couple quick snippets that I threw in. DB Price is going to lose respect for me right now. Okay. Here we go.
Just to clarify, do you want this on Twitter or not on Twitter at all?
Let's not tweet this.
Just so we're clear.
Is that cool? Or you can just tweet, holy crap, we just saw a sneak preview of what's going to happen on Thursday night at 10 on Channel. You can tweet that. Alright, does anybody recognize this guy?
Let me ask you this. For a company that is making money off of being sticklers about the rules, why didn't you guys read the rules? Why don't you guys have two signs up that are the required signs? I mean, it'd be pretty simple.
Did you have any questions about the officer?
No. Well, I'm asking you. You're out here booting people illegally, and that boot right there is illegally placed. That's a petty misdemeanor. Every time you boot somebody illegally, how many boots do you get a day? About like 4 or 5? You're not going to answer how many boots you've been putting on people's cars? Does the manager know you guys are? Hey, don't touch the camera. Don't touch the camera. Don't touch the camera. Okay? Don't touch the camera. We're here doing our jobs. You're doing your job. The problem is that you're not allowed to. Because you're not allowed to boot people. And you have a property owner. Tell us if we can't be here. And we'll leave. How was this shot? No, I'm here.
Awesome photographer.
Sir, you need to back up. You need to back up. This is not going to go well. This is not going to go well. Every time you move somebody, it's a petty.
Alright. about? Anybody gotten a boot?
Yeah.
Yeah? You guys have gotten a boot at McDonald's or Perico's?
I'm seeing it right now.
Alright. Things aren't going to change in the future, but that was taken, what, Thursday?
Yeah.
If you do know of anybody that got booted before Thursday, tell them to keep their receipt. Just tell them to keep their receipt. Alright? Questions? Comments?
Who said knowledge isn't power?
Right?
Sorry.
Alright, cool.
Okay.
Well, thanks, guys.
We can't thank Gadi enough for that.